Welcome to Book of the Month. We're in sunny Australia to look at the book this month, and we've actually got the author with us as well. Ilse Strauss is originally from South Africa, but tell us about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me here, John. Really appreciate it. Well, look, I wrote the book Brands Don't Grow on Trees quite recently, and I think it really came about because of the stepping stones that my career in business has taken over the last, just over 15 years or so. My history really is in franchising. That's where I started. And that's where I pretty much grew my business muscles up in the franchising world. One of the key things that I used to do in that organisation, where I was a division leader for running what we call company-owned businesses here in WA, was taking special units teams into businesses that were struggling with their marketing, with their sales, with their teams, and helping them to reinvigorate the business in accordance with the brand. Because what we would find very often was that while they'd be going about doing business, they were struggling trying to connect the business with the purpose of the brand. And that's what our job became.
Now, if you read your book, the word culture comes up a number of times.
Yes.
And you talk about cultural mapping.
Yeah.
Can you explain cultural mapping?
Yeah, cultural mapping. So cultural mapping is effectively having an active, conscious awareness of what the daily goings on is of your business. It's looking at the norms of your business, the way people are speaking, the way they are behaving, looking at what their attitudes are with your business. And the purpose of doing that is to get an understanding for whether or not your team, your organisation and yourself as the brand leader are operating and thinking in accordance with the purpose of the brand. Because it's very easy to get distracted by doing the day-to-day operations, and often people get complacent in doing that and their business starts to plateau. And we all know that when a business plateaus, it ends up doing the death dive if they don't get inspired and reinvigorated. So cultural mapping is simply just about walking through your business and having a strong self-awareness of what you are doing as a leader, and understanding what the norms and the standards are that you're applying, and if they're a match to what you say is part of your brand.
Now, some listeners are going to say, well, branding's about logos and emblems, etc. Now, you're arguing against that,
Yeah,
aren't you?
absolutely. So my argument is that branding is just the tip of the iceberg. Branding, like the logos, the elements, the colours, the name, all of those things that you mentioned, and it's very important to have as part of your marketing armour. But what you then also need to understand is when you go beneath the iceberg, you need to have an awareness of what your brand, i.e. your reputation, your business identity, what it stands for. Because many business owners will stop their branding conversations with themselves or stop their branding strategy at simply creating brand elements, which is the logos, etc. But then they won't further on to look at how their organisation can support and live by the promise that they've presented in their brand elements.
What I enjoyed about reading the book was the journeys and stories that you bring into it.
Yeah, thank you.
What was the thinking behind that? I found it fascinating.
Yeah, leadership books that I read as I was growing up in business, I was introduced, as I was mentioning to you before, I was introduced to John Maxwell, who's probably one of the world's most renowned leadership experts. And I was introduced to him introduced to his contents, his programs, his books, when I was about 18 years old by my mentor. And I loved the way that I was able to grasp the knowledge and take understanding from his wisdom through the stories that he told. And he used a lot of fables, he used a lot of anecdotes from characteristics of people that he'd met. And I found that was a really wonderful way for me as a young leader at that stage. When I had a team, I think I inherited, my first team I inherited when I was 22 years old. And I had about 15 of them under my leadership, and I was quite young, and so I needed to find my way as well. And what that did for me, having those stories and the way that these books are written, is it enabled me to learn much faster. It enabled me to grasp the content more effectively and to be able to put it into practice.
That's excellent. Well done.
Thank you.
Now, something else in the book, you say, as a successful business matures,
Yes.
let me get this right, it's get, gain, give.
Yes.
Can you explain get, gain, give?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question. Well, if if anybody's read Stephen Covey's book, The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey talks about the maturity spectrum, and it's based on the fact that we all grow in terms of our physiology, our leadership, our mindset. Every part of us goes through a spectrum curve where you go from immature to maturing to mature. Now, what I've seen in businesses is business owners will be in a space at the very beginning where they'll be in often a get mentality, which is how can we get more customers to sell more products to? And that's usually the first place that we all start out at, when we've got a new product, when we have a new service. From there, if the business leader starts to mature in terms of their thinking about what this business means apart from just a product, they move into the secondary space of starting to gain. And this is where people will start to talk about things such as, I need to move out of the business more, I need to step back from the business, I'm going to work on the business but not in the business. When that happens, a few things occurs. They start to focus on their marketing a lot, so you might see a website getting rebranded, you might see more marketing strategies implemented, they might start referral strategies or cross-promotion strategies or whatever it might be. What happens is often they stop there and they don't move through to the next space, which is where it becomes about giving. And what that means in the context of brand development is, how is your market actually getting the entire experience of your brand? And this is where brand culture comes into place. Because if you stop at point 2, which is just how do I leverage my marketing results, all you're doing is making more money, but you're not necessarily building a strong reputation, which in effect is going to then leverage your brand.
Yeah. Okay. Fascinating chapter. I felt it was one of the gems in the book.
Yeah.
Now this is an ebook.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So
yeah.
how does our listener get hold of it? We'll put a lead through at the end of the newsletter.
Yes.
How do they get hold of the book?
Yeah, so the fastest and the easiest way to get hold of the book is to go to my website, and there will be a link that you can click through on the website, and that will take you directly to where you need to go to be able to download the book. And we'll be able to provide the website for you rather than me mentioning it online,
Yeah.
so it's easy and fast.
Okay. A book well worth reading. I read this book over a few evenings. There was a lot of gems in there that can help all our businesses. So, book of the month, branding. Name is?
Brands don't grow on trees.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ilse.
Thanks, John.